film of another Dr. Dre and Ed Lover masterpiece.
Yo, man, what did you do to my head?
Man, I wouldn't let the two brothers cut my taxes.
Welcome to Classics of Cinematics. I'm your host, Monk. Released on April 23rd, 1993, Who's the Man is an action comedy mystery film. The story follows two clueless barbers, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, as they stumble into the world of crime solving and become unlikely heroes in their Harlem neighborhood. Led by the dynamic duo from Yo MTV Raps, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, this film also features a great support ensemble cast, including Ice-T, Denis Leary, Colin Quinn, and Jim Moody. It also features dozens of cameos from hip-hop's biggest stars at the time. To finish it all off, we also get a stellar soundtrack that includes the notorious B.I.G.'s first single, Party Bull, and Mary J. Blige's You Don't Have to Worry. Join me and my co-host Bobby Blockbuster as we take a look at this fun and seldom mentioned treat from the early 90s. Just to get the story out of the way, man. Essentially, they're kind of some fuck-ups in a way, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre, you know, and my man definitely has taken them in, Nick, you know, who owns the barbershop, but it's time for them to pay up, man. I've been carrying you for this long. You're in here, you're messing up people's heads, which is also great. I love the barbershop scenes in this, man. I feel like Ice Cube's barbershop definitely bit off of this movie, but eventually gives them an ultimatum. He's like, look, man, y'all got to take your life seriously. The police academy's hiring. And they go to the police academy, which also is one of my greatest moments. I don't know if y'all ever did Abacadabra, but that's where this comes from. Basically, multiple choice tests, and they were trying to fail on purpose, so they Abacadabraed it. Basically going up and down, A, B, A, C, whatever. So, because of who Nick is, they overlook their test results, and they still make the academy. Which is where we meet Sergeant Cooper, and they end up in the streets, and they actually make the police force, which is crazy, you know, having these two guys in. So then they, during the course of that, just them being curious, you know, they're kind of dicking around a little bit, but at the same time, they do have some concerns, and they find out this plot, basically, that's going on in the community. Basically, these land developers are trying to get everyone to sell. Even Nick. Nick's like, no, I don't want to sell my business. I like my business. I like it here. Blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, things go on from there. But that's the gist of the story right there.
The one thing that I like about this story, what really hits hard for me is that this film, it's labeled as a drama mystery, but it hits like a comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
They put that in
and
there.
a lot of
classification is really weird.
Yes, but this is due to the dialogue. Like, I mean, like you said, when you speak of that barbershop scene, the banter that we get from Bernie Mac and Bill Bellamy, I love it. I love it every time they start talking. And then with Bow-Legged Lou, dude, my man was blowing at the funeral, dog. Like, I don't know if he was really singing or not.
That was cool,
but
man.
that was really cool.
To his the real life,
his singing ability and stuff.
People, man.
But you know, so speaking of that, dude, you can't talk about this film without talking about the soundtrack. With all of the hip hop influences and the cameos that was going on, the soundtrack was one of the driving forces of this film. You know what I'm saying? And it's justifiably so because of all the ties to MTV and because of all of the that hip hop presence that we get. I mean, dude, we get a damn full on Naughty by Nature concert. In the first part of the film. I thought that was cool. Right when the film starts, you know, we get this House of Pain song, and I was like, whoa, I didn't, you know, I knew of them. I knew, you know, Everlast and everything, but I was like, man, this joint is really rocking. I really like that. But the most important thing about this soundtrack, at least for me, this was when we got the first single of the late great Notorious B.I.G. and Party and Bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, before there was Juicy, there was this. You know what I'm saying? And this was the film that kind of like springboarded his career, gave the world a taste of what one of the greatest hip hop artists in the world had to offer. And you know what I'm saying, without this film, I don't know if that happens the same way. You know what I mean?
I definitely remember this, you know, that being a big, you know, staple of that soundtrack. Also got Mary J's You Don't Have to Worry. And also come out of that, got Let's Go Through the Motions by Jodeci. What's Next on the Menu by Pete Rock, which is a cool single. And also House of Pain's Who's the Man.
And that was cool. But you know, one song that I was kind of disappointed is not on the soundtrack list. When they're doing the chase down scene, they're chasing down Lorenzo, who was played by Guru. But dog, they're playing this Rakim song. I want to say it's called Follow the Leader. And dude, did that not give you Juice vibes? It made me feel like when Q and Bishop was running from the police, dog. I was like, well, this is really cool. So I mean,
did they use that? They used that in that film too, right?
I want to say they did.
Yeah, when they skipped school.
I want to say they did.
When they skipped school.
I was like, yo, this is like Juice, dog.
That was following the leader.
Yes, I would want to say this is Juice, and it gets the blood flowing and gets you revved up and stuff.
I think Juice only used the instrumental. They didn't have the
they didn't have the man.
Rakim was going off on that song.
He was, dog, and it intensifies that scene, dog. I love it.
I think what makes this work for me is like it's a really silly film. Like it's the plot is paper thin, but the moment silliness, especially them interacting in the world, because they're like grown up kids in a way.
They're grade A screw ups.
Yeah, they don't want to mature. So those moments are really funny when they happen, man. And even I don't know how this was planned out, man. I feel like a lot of this was impromptu, where like whoever was available at the time. But then there are some really great scenes, like with Ice-T. And I love when they question him because he's a dope dealer in the hood. And he's also known to do dirt for people. So they start questioning him, and they roll up on him while he's talking to a woman. That happens to be Moody Love. He's trying to rap too. And then they start throwing their weight around. They
using his government name.
They pull his gun out and throw it into the bar. And then all of a sudden the bar owner's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then you see it's Freddie Fox, and it's just like like I said, you could throw a rock and hit a rapper in this movie, and there's just so many cool moments of that. Like the plot's paper thin, but I think it's elevated by those interactions and the comedy that comes out of it.
The dialogue, the dialogue, the banter. I mean, like I said, what we get from Denis Leary as this high-strung guy, every time he talks, and for some reason, he has a special kind of dislike for Dr. Dre, because he, like, you see as he's like, Dr. Dre was like, so you wear a stethoscope, or, did you go to school? And then you find out where this anger comes. He was like, my brother took out a $350,000 loan. He's not going to have that paid off till he's like 80 to be called doctor. He was like, and you just woke up and you wanted to be called doctor, and Dr. Dre was like, well, yeah. So he's like, well, on Tuesday and Thursday I'm gonna be King Cooper, and on Monday, Wednesday I'm gonna be President Cooper, and all this stuff. And he's just so high strung, but.
Also, I want to shout out my man Kim Chan as Fuji.
Oh, he's great.
It's like, there's part of his, I guess maybe the modern eye could maybe feel like his character's a little offensive, but I love that guy on film, and I thought it was great to see him here just doing his job, and he's so good as an actor, man. It's so great.
I mean, when you listen to a lot of the stuff,
Fifth Element, he was on that too. He
was the guy. Yes, but that's the thing about this banter in this film is like a lot of it would be deemed as insensitive in today's terms. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's stuff that everyone's saying that you would be looked at in very special kind of ways. They might make Twitter posts about you if you were to say some of the things that are said in this film. But like I said,
you gotta take it for when it was made.
The way,
like even the jokes about Dr. Dre's weight.
Dre's weight. You can't body shame.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Or the way Ed Lover says that he keeps sleeping with everybody, but he's kind of like an unproclaimed virgin, so he's lying.
He's lying on this.
But that's the thing. Like that's what makes this story work so well, is because of the silliness of these guys, and they have this chemistry. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell that they have worked together on screen a lot, even if it wasn't in this, in the film world. They had this. I mean, dude, it trips me. They're like Beavis and Butthead in a sense, where like they are hooked at the hip. There's a part where it shows them sitting at the house watching the Beverly Hillbillies, which is funny because that kind of throws a couple little Easter eggs of this storyline. But dude, they're wearing matching pajama sets.
Because they're what? I mean, you know you're watching a movie watching this, and I think modern comedies, man, there's not a lot that I see that really blow me away, because I don't think they're leaning into the ridiculousness of comedy. And it's like sometimes you gotta throw this realism out the way to have fun. And that's like
that's what they do.
No, like me and Bob are good friends, man. I'm not getting matching pajamas and
dog, I'm not like calling like, hey bro, I'm spending the night on Friday. I got us these matching pajama sets.
But for a gag in the movie, it's fucking fun. It's funny. Like, let's have some fun.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like that's what the world needs to understand. Like I said, this is labeled a drama mystery. This is not that, dog. dog. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to take this with you watch this with a lighthearted mindset and an easy eye. You do not dissect this film. There is nothing that you need to fine tooth comb this with. There is nothing about this story, about the characters, about the way that the story develops, or anything that you take serious about this film. If you do, you're doing it wrong. And that's why I feel like when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes or the audience scores or anyone that saw this in the latter years, they try to bash this film because they just don't want to take the time to realize, man, you don't watch this. You just watch this for what it is, man. Yeah. And let it happen. You know, speaking of seriousness, the only thing that's serious about this film is the setting. It takes place in Harlem, and it gives you a first-class seat into Harlem. And the cool thing about this film, dog, it was shot on location. This is, you are in the underbelly of Harlem, and you get these, you feel like a fly in the wall that's out on the block watching this group of individuals, how they conduct their lives.
But even that, like, as silly as this thing is, I think the thing that was cool of them to put, like, this real life thing into, like gentrification and development. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing
going on. And like I said, man, earlier, like barbershop stole some cues from this, because barbershop is, and like them working at the barbershop, that being their community and how they're known, everyone knows them.
Yes.
But that having that element is like, these developers are trying to come in and take over, and they don't care about the people that live here. They just want the money, and it is silly and it's goofy and it's a comedy, but them creeping up, this is real stuff that's going on in the world. Like, there's a real, realness at its core,
And sometimes, it's easier to talk.
I appreciate them for putting that light on that.
Yes, and it's easier to talk about real shit when you put a funny spin on it. The world seems to digest it better. You know what I'm saying? Some people like sugar on their shit. Me personally, I like my shit straight. You know what I'm saying? Give it to me, it's still gonna be shit once you get past the sweetness. You know what I'm saying? But everybody ain't like that. But like you said, when it comes to the barbershop scenes, I love that because that part, that element, that dynamic of this film, it feels like a film within a film. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the barbershop aspect of it, you feel like you're in the chair waiting to get a cut as well. You feel like you're in there, you're hearing these crazy conversations. You're seeing the people come in there. Like, I love everybody that gets a cut from these two. Like, they have a complaint.
Man,
like, they're like, dude,
Fife Dog is sitting in the chair, like, and Coogee rapping. You're just like, man, this is it's probably, man, this not only for this film, man, it just came out at a great time. It was a golden age for the culture. And 93, man, I was so into hip hop, man. I had to see this film, and
it was a must. It was a must.
There was so much of this was just so great. I'm looking for the people. I'm seeing the people, and even now I'm noticing people that I didn't notice back then, because now I have more knowledge of rap in general, and it's like,
and also it's getting front run by the host that I used to watch host on TV Raps. So it's kind of like they're still front and center. They're still kind of introducing us into these other characters the same way that they would introduce us into these videos as they drop them on TV Raps. It was like watching an MTV segment that was a movie that was just had a completely different dynamic, you know what I'm saying, of something that I used to do every day when I got home from school, you know what I'm saying, watching, it was between Rap City and Yo MTV Raps, just back and forth, you know what I'm saying, whoever had the more rocking video, that's what I was watching.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's dope, man. And also, man, it's kind of like some controversial, man, the way they play the cops. I dug it, because as soon as they put them badges on, however they felt about the police, they kind of became them guys, real quick, and you're just looking at it. I'm like, man, that's kind of messed up what y'all doing, but hey, man, greater good. Like,
but you know what? But the thing is, though, is like when
it's kind of goofy, man.
When you look at the silliness of it, though, you just think of like I said, when you look at the underlying realistic aspect of this film, how many other people that just get that.
They would have done a lot worse, gun. Dude.
Yes, but they get that adrenaline rush of power, and then they want to go flex nuts, or female parts, depending on.
Think about it, man. They just had the situation where we had seen the. With Nick dealing with the drug dealers around, they could have easily went over there and pressed that block, but they're still they're going after real crimes. Like, even right now, they got Busta Rhymes.
They pulled him over because he owed him $10.
Yeah, it could have like calling them up, but their policing is like, no, man, like we're still dudes from this community,
dude. And like that's the coolest thing about this is because like when it comes down to like their actual policing, they're not taking it serious. It's just they just happen to get this job because of Nick and putting in a good word for them. But what they did do with their position of power is when somebody took out their close friend that was a father figure to them in their real lives, they used that position of power to help investigate his murder.
Tupac in the Jeep with Buster? I don't know. Nah, you know what? I think that's one of the leaders of the new school. but they use that position of power to actually, investigate and figure out what happened to Nick. Which so like you said, when it comes down to the greater good, they did the right thing. As far as I'd have been out here getting this money.
As far as
don't make me a cop. I can't handle it. I'm gonna admit that. Like, and then I can't handle it.
I like the part
like guy you want to be the police.
I like the part where they mess with the homies. Like they run up on their folks. They're like, yeah, whatever, to grab them all. They just make them do some embarrassing shit just because. And then they get out there like, we just fucking with y'all. Yeah, because that's the kind of shit that would happen. Because like I said, when it comes down to your folks or something, you just you bust chops. That's what happened back in those days. You bust chops and didn't nobody get their feelings hurt behind it.
Yeah, I love this film too, just because, man, comedies was comedies, man.
Yes.
We had ridiculous situations, ridiculous people, and ridiculous scenarios, and this is the epitome of that, man.
Yes.
And I think it's why I like today, like these days, comedies come out, and it's rare for me to even see a trailer and feel like I want to go see that now. You know what I'm saying? It's one of them genres that I love, but overall, it's kind of been one of the least fulfilling genres over the past few years.
To piggyback on what you're saying, for me, it's because the comedies now feel too scripted. This feels like, like you said, there's a lot of improv. There's a lot of just, let's just run this scene and y'all do what y'all do and let's see what happens. Whereas now it's like the jokes have to be play by play. Like as a viewer, you can sense the build up to the joke. That's why it's unclimactic. You can watch the situation or scenario as it's happening and like, man, I already knew this shit was going to happen, and it makes it not funny. Like you said, you got to really tap back into the inner child, the ridiculousness of the story, and then appease to the viewer. But then again, it's kind of hard to be a comedian now because everybody's so sensitive. You say if you sneeze too loud, it hurts somebody's feelings. I
don't think that's holding it back. Like I feel like if you're funny, it's funny, man. If you can make like a prime example is the Super Mario Brothers movie I just watched, and I laughed my ass off so much during that, and I was just like,
but that's
make
because
a good joke, like
that's
funny.
Also
like it's just
that's also because of the nostalgic value. See, because we were around when the games first dropped and stuff, and I know like the newer generations, they have their Mario experiences as well. But
it's still like hilarious to see Donkey Kong beating the shit out of Mario. Like that's always going to be funny. So lean into those things, man. Like even this movie. There are a couple of the jokes but then, that maybe, if this came out today, there would be some controversy. But most of it isn't like that.
No.
And it's cool. So it's like, cool. You can make these. I don't think that's what's holding the comedy back.
People are afraid because they have to think, okay, well, if we do this, who's it going to offend? If we do this, who's it going to bother? Or what is the repercussions? What's the backlash going to be? Whereas back in this day, there was no regards for that because, like you said, it was just lighthearted comedy that should be funny for everyone.
Like getting a bad haircut, that's always going to be hilarious.
Yes.
So like I don't think that I don't know, man. I feel like some people are using that as an excuse because maybe that's what they've traded in for years, or just mean-spirited kind of shit that might win over in some crowds. But it's like, if you're really funny, you can find ways to be funny.
Sometimes
you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it's not the writers or the directors; it's the production companies being afraid to invest in that kind of comedy nowadays because of fear of a loss of profit or something. Like I said, some kind of weirdo backlash.
This isn't a big risk. This is a low budget film. You got a lot of cameos who probably showed up because the promotion angle was great, or maybe they made a deal. Ties to the director, ties to Ed Lover, with the show. Ed Lover and them, like we owe you one. Yes, you show our video every day. All right, I got some time. I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna come to Harlem.
Dude, when you look at the cameos, dog, nobody was in here eating up much scenery. I mean, it was like you might have got a minute and a half, if that. I think the longest cameo was what we got out of Guru. You know what I'm saying? I think he's or Ice-T. You know what I'm saying? But shit, at that point, Ice-T was already converting from rapper to actor anyway.
Ice-T's in the main cast.
You know what I'm
he's
saying?
not a cameo.
Yeah, he's not a cameo.
But I definitely can recommend this thing, man. This is a magical moment in time. It is on Tubi. Was great
for the free 99?
Yeah, I did do a quick search on eBay, so you can get you some low budget, DVD copies if you want. But this is one that I could watch occasionally. Maybe every couple years you just throw it in and just flash back to this time and period and have a good time with this silly, goofy story.
Yes, the significance of the cameos and everything. It's just it's great. The story is fun. This is just a movie that you have fun with. I mean, I remember when I first saw it was on Tubi. I text you. It was like 9 in the morning. I was like, dog, they got Who's the Man on Tubi? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Like the excitement, because it just brought me back to that early 90s and just the fun that we were having, not just in younger life, but in watching films and the kind of movies that were coming out in around this time with a lot more of the serious, urbanized films, when you get your Juice and your Menace, Boys in the Hood. This one just took a way lighter hearted approach and not, just being so serious and just giving us something that was fun, ridiculous, and just enjoyable to watch. Man, this would definitely be on my list of must-see movies as well. Whether you grew up in that time or not. If you didn't grow up in the time, then learn something. You know what I'm saying? Watch it for what it is, Yeah,
that's good, man. I thought we could wrap up on this, man. But check out Who's the Man, man. This has been Monk. You catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter, Instagram, and follow us, man. So hit that subscribe button, man. If you made it this far, dang. Check us out on Instagram at Classics of Cinematics, man.
While you're at it, use that thumb, man. It's there for a reason.
Like it too.
Like it, love it. Leave a comment. This is Bobby Blockbuster. You catch me at Bobby Blockbuster 118 on Instagram.
All right, folks, man. We out of here.